Good day, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of the Group Chat Podcast with ABC, the show that talks about life, friendship, and everything nice. I am A, the mysterious brother of all.
This is the explicit Bessie.
Hi guys, this is C, the fairest of them all. Welcome to our podcast.
We all have different ways of expressing our feelings towards something. Some may be vocal by speaking up, and some may be too shy and prefer to write it all down. Tonight, we will hear the story of a guy that prefers to compose his sentiments by doing poems and short stories. He was a former events host and campus journalist. Now, living as an English teacher and a sports coach for Ministry of Community Baptist Church, Family of Cavite, let's all welcome Mr. Nico.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello, sir.
Yes. Good evening.
We are happy na super nakikinig ka sa podcast namin, sir, kahit na hindi kami kilala talaga.
No, actually, there's a funny story talaga. There's actually parang unexpected reason kung how did I first started watching your podcast. Actually nga, yung season 1, hindi ko napanood eh. Yung season 2 na. Um, sa Facebook, there's actually, like a page, there's a page that added me, like All Things Hub. And then all of a sudden, they popped out your podcast, and I was like, okay, let's try it. So I pressed the link, then it jumped me to watching your podcast. If I'm not mistaken, that was like season 2, episode 2. Um, I forgot the title. I wasn't.
Broken-hearted man.
Was that?
Story of a
The
broken
story of a broken hearted.
I guess. I guess. Yeah, but parang yun yun.
Late.
Sabi ko, wait lang, I'm not broken-hearted. Pero out of nowhere na lang. And I was like, okay naman. Kasi I really love to listen sa mga ganyan, sa mga podcast. Kasi way back, like 11 years ago, there's a radio station that I used to listen. And if you've heard Mellow 94.7, um, I've been listening to that for how many years, and I actually took a chance or took a gamble to audition as a student jock. Well, hindi man nakapasok, but I was able to take part at least once. Kaya parang nag-guest lang for one episode lang, and then wala na, that's it. So sabi ko, I don't know if I'm really into the scene na yung magiging DJ or radio DJ or maging host, mga ganyan. So, I don't know.
Pero your voice is parang bagay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been hearing some of my friends keep telling me that na, hey, why don't you try to continue on a radio station, be a radio DJ whatsoever. So yeah, I tried, but maybe those years kasi I was very young. I was just 18, just turned 18 when I started to take a gamble of uh, doing radio stuff. And yung mga kasama ko kasi doon, wala talagang maganda yung school nila eh. Like Ateneo, San Beda, Lasal, and well, I'm not, embarrassed sa school ko kasi nag-lyceum naman ako. However, yun nga, parang iba yung iba yung approach ng mga kasama ko those years. Kaya parang hindi kaya na I'm not too mayaman to be part of their show. Parang ganun. Masyadong dinown sarili ko. Pero well, those are teenage years, anything happens when you were that young. Pero once you hit your 20s, yun na yun. It's a different story na.
Hmm.
Sorry, daldal na agad.
Pero ba't hindi ka nag-push na gumawa na lang ng sariling podcast?
Actually, that was really one of my plans back then. I think pandemic. During the pandemic, I was really, or before the pandemic, I was really planning to start a podcast. However, the challenge was I didn't have the safe equipment that time. I mean, what I had was just phone. I don't have any computer or laptop during that time. Then pandemic hit and it was way worse. And I said, paano ko ito magagawa? So I said, you know what, never mind. Okay, I was just sticking to writing na lang. So, and during those years, and even before, parang I really went to continue sa writing. Since I mean, actually, there's one reason why I couldn't like proceed sa for the vlogging and stuff, the podcast, kasi I wasn't really sure how would I look in front of the camera. I'm really camera shy. I'm not that person that I would see myself in front of the camera. I would rather be heard than to be seen. Well, yung ganyan yung setup. That's why I don't know, maybe there's some people na nakaka-relate na ayaw nila makita sarili sa camera, but they would love to say what they want to say um like away from the camera. Parang ganun. That's why sabi ko okay na yung yung radio DJ stuff, yung naririnig ka na lang guys makita kasi people might judge you the way you look, the way you smile, or the way you talk, ganyan. But when they hear you, it's like, okay, this guy is good. And then when they see you, ha, ba't ganyan ka? Parang ganon.
Well, actually, it doesn't matter naman ang physical attributes when it comes to podcasts kasi we have different medias nowadays that we can use. One is Spotify. For Spotify, you can choose to post your video or just audio. So I think Spotify would be the best platform for you, sir.
Mm.
Try mo kasi
Yeah.
we started at Spotify lang din naman.
Yeah, we're camera
And
shy
then,
before.
yeah, camera shy kami before. Kumapal lang talaga yung mukha namin.
Parang hindi naman.
Wait lang. I mean, those were the years yung talagang sobrang nahihiya pa ako sa camera. But
Ah,
yung parang time goes by, especially when I met my fiance na very, alam mo yung
congratulations.
sobrang lakas ng go for the pictures here and there. Yung talagang she would always she would tell me na sumama ka dito, magpicture ka, ganyan, ganyan. I was like, I don't think so. But you know what? I give credit to my fiance na talagang she's really giving me the motivation to like, try something else na yung tipong wag mahiya, ganyan, ganyan. I mean,
Hmm.
what I don't be bothered too much on what do they say when they see you. Ano naman ang panglaban ko daw is yun nga, the way I speak, yung pananalita ko daw,
Yeah.
ganyan. So, I said, okay, sige, let's try. And yun lang nga, medyo kinakabahan ko talaga always at first. Ngayon, even yung mga hosting period, mga ganyan. Speaking of yung hosting, I'm really not that, yung very, anong tawag ito, yung approachable pag mag-host ako. Yung parang pag may plano na ganitong ganyan, ito na yung isi-set up, then once you're going to perform na, once you're going to host na, wala na, it's you and the crowd, bahala ka na whatsoever. And then, kaya parang, ito ba yung perks of being an introvert, advantage and disadvantage na di mo alam na you're just doing it for the job at the same time, I mean, after that, wala na. Yun na ganito talk to other people na parang, okay, natapos ka na, you can go home na, bye. Mga ganon.
Introvert pala siya.
Oh,
Yeah.
introvert.
Yeah. I mean, but some people say that I'm an introvert and it shows kasi, like, kung sabihin natin, madaldal ako, like, around 2 to 3 people, mga ganyan, or at least less than 5. But once I'm in a big crowd, like for example, may meeting kami with my fellow teachers, sila nagdadaldal, tapos ako yung wala na, nasa gilid lang, just waiting for them to stop. Ganun lang.
Observe.
Yeah, observe lang, ganyan. Yung ganyan na feeling. And then, kaya sabi nila, if you're an introvert, or paano ka nakakuha ng hosting job na na dapat ano ka, jolly ka, yung masayahin, yung jolly na masayahin na yung connection mo with the crowd, yung ganyan. Parang, paano mo siya nagagawa? Sabi ko, I don't know. I'm just watching other people host. That's how I get the style, ganyan.
Baka
Well,
sir, nasasaniban ka pag ano, na hosting na sasaniban na.
yung ganyan, actually, ano eh, there's actually a funny story, and one of my students found out, or parang, basta kasi napansin lang nila yun. They saw me do something like a certain ritual before I start hosting the school
Mm.
program. And parang what I do is, if if the principal tells me na, okay, start ka na sir, I'll be like, tapos again, yun, magsasit And then one of my students is like, yung gano'n, it's like, breathe in, breathe out, ganyan. Tapos, welcome, ganyan. And then one of my students is like, sir, ba't ganyan ka? And I was like, I don't know. It has been my thing for how many years na rin. I don't know kung bakit ganyan. But it works. It actually works. Kasi by then, after the whole program, parang hindi mo ma-feel na kinakabahan ka whatsoever. Basta go with the flow na. After reading the script, after seeing the program, parang alam mo na yung mangyayari next as long as nagawa ko yung ritual na yan. Kasi if I don't do that ritual, wala. I would say to myself na this is live and kalat na kalat ako. yung ganyan na feeling. And kaya actually it's really a blessing in disguise na to have that kind of talent. I think I don't know, but sometimes masabi mo na blessing or a curse, but I'm just happy na I'm able to do it. Kasi sabi ko before, if I won't be a teacher, I might be a host. Yun lang yun. Just two ways. Basta as long as nagagamit ko yung yung bibig.
Yung voice.
Yeah, the voice, mouth, the voice. That's like na din
Big.
sa call
Yeah, that's a
center.
gift, actually. That's a gift, sir. Same as me. That's a gift. We have to be proud with the deep voice, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I do hosting din naman. I do hosting here in my job. And I feel the way you feel. Na
Mm,
talagang at first you would really feel nervous, and eventually as time goes by na nagsasalita ka sa harap ng maraming tao, hindi mo na nararamdaman na nag-ghosting ka. Yeah, for the recent holidays here in Thailand,
mm,
sobra yung hosting ko because I am the only one who can speak English here in my job.
mm,
So most of our guests are foreigners as well. So I have to entertain them. And although that's that part of my job, but I have to because it's my, I mean, sort of part of my industry. So yun.
mm.
Ano lang, lakasan lang talaga ng loob, sir.
That I really hope that I have yung talagang that confidence that yung parang every time you start to speak in front of people, actually even preaching pa nga eh, or devotion, parang before you start doing that devotion or before you speak in front of people, you have to, when I mean prayer is one thing, then next is you always ask that for the confidence, for the motivation to continue, and then yes, you said nga once you're in the groove, it's like well, it's very smooth. Then at the end of it, good job, sir. I was like, really? Okay na yun. Okay na yun. Yung thank you, sige, thank you, mapapaganyan ko na lang eh. But, yun, blessing in disguise na lang yun. Kaya nga sabi ko, if I'm not hosting, mapapaisip na there's something else for me to do, like writing na lang, ganyan, or do other stuff. And, I mean, mostly nagagawa ko siya during the time that I was still studying, whether I was in high school or in college. I mean, high school, it all started in high school when I first started to host sa school pa yun. Then when I got into college, yun, other people, including my family, were telling me to host here, host there. I haven't told my fiance about this, but there was a time that I hosted a debut of my ex. So I
Oh.
Wow.
went to my ex's cousin. Yeah. So we went. She told me to go there to host a debut for cousin. I was like, sige, okay lang, fine.
Awkward.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward at first, and then and then she asked me how much will she pay me. I was like, it's up to you. I mean, I'm not a professional host anyway, so nasa yun na, it's up to you how much you guys pay me. Kayo na bahala. That's what I always do kasi whenever I go out to host, when they ask me how much will they pay me, I was like, it's up to you guys kasi I'm not a professional host. I'm not like other people na they get paid to do that. I'm just here that kasi you guys want me to be here for free. Parang ganyan. But it really
Mm.
like, ano lang, thank you na lang. Thank you na may nagbibigay. If there's none, then it's okay. At least there's free food. As long as there's free food, I'm okay with that. But there are like other incentives. They just really give me an envelope and like some allowances like that, and I'm okay with that. But I wasn't really tend to focus on that kind of career path. So I said, I mean, if teaching is the path is my passion, then I'll go for that. And so I was able to, I mean, continuously to able to teach some students in a private school and really teaching them what I've learned back then, not to do dumb things. Sorry for the word.
Okay.
Yung feeling na ano, wag mong parang when you tell those kids na wag niyo akong gayahin because what I've done in the past is not right. So what I'm trying
Mm.
to teach you guys is for the better kasi it will be different pag ginawa niyo yun. Parang ganun yung feeling. So, and one thing na I was able to teach the kids, especially in high school, is to write simple poetry and a poem. So, kaya nung shinare ko kay Sir A, ano ba yung magandang pag-usapan? Yun, I said, you know what? I think poem would be like a good topic because that's actually one of my first topic to work on if ever I would have a podcast, my own podcast or vlog. Kasi I've noticed upon watching vlogs or listening to podcasts, I haven't heard anyone talking about people writing,
Yes.
express their feeling about writing. So I said, why don't I try that? Why don't I try to put that up as a topic? And blessing enough, your group. I really thank you guys for this opportunity to have this topic, like to be part of it sa season ninyo. And I'd be happy to be. I'm not sure that I'm the first, but maybe one of the first to talk about it. Kasi I know there are a lot of writers sa bansa pa lang natin, ang daming magaling magsulat and they express their feelings through writing because not everybody has the opportunity to speak. Yung iba talagang they couldn't say it out loud. Instead, they write it down and let people read it. And okay, this is what he or she feels on based on what they write. Because because again, as I said, not everyone has that kind of opportunity, and that's their eventual talent by means of writing. Kaya sabi ko, you know what? I'll try to take advantage to those kids who has that kind of talent. And I've seen that to some of my students. And speak of students, actually, I want to shout out to my students in the future. If you'll be watching this, bahala na kayo.
Hi, future students. Galing ni
Yeah,
Sir.
kasi actually, funny story when Sir A messaged me about this. The first people I shared about this were my kids, the students. Sabi ko, guys, okay lang ba kayo if makikita niyo ako sa YouTube or you'll hear me sa Spotify or Facebook whatsoever, whatever platform they have. Okay, why, sir? Wala lang, I'll be like one of their guests sa podcast nila and first time ko lang. Sige, sir, go. We'll be go.
Supportive.
Kaya sabi ko, I'm here to support whatever group I'll be joining. Kaya sabi ko, maraming manonood in the future. Kaya sabi ko,
Yeah.
support our very simple podcast na to. Kaya when they heard about it, sabi, sir, uh, actually, ang pinaka-concern nila is baka pumiyak ko. I was like, bakit? Because you do that all the time.
So baka yun yung observation nila sa'yo, sir, that you are always, pumipigil.
So then, so
Yes.
far, wala pang piyok.
And I
Yes.
hope that won't happen tonight. That's what
Yeah,
I'm hoping
hopefully.
that to happen. And then one of my students be like, sir, are you, another concern of mine, sir, baka magiging konyo ka dyan. Sabi ko, why? Because you always do that. I was like, oh nga, no? So, so I'm really sorry for my Taglish. For our conversation tonight, if I'll be so Taglish tonight, yun na yun. It's a konyo thing.
It's okay.
But actually, it's okay, sir. Kasi for me, English poems sounds better than Taglish or Filipino. Though Filipino, sobrang makata when it comes to Filipino poems. Sobrang makata. And it sounds good as well. Pero I'm more familiar with the English poems. And
But
based on your poems, most of your compositions are English.
Yes, yeah.
well,
And we have read it already. It's pretty good.
I'm actually shy at first to share it to you guys because I mean on my thought I was like, what would be their reaction once they read my poem? And actually those 5 poems, they all have different backgrounds. They all have different stories on how were they created.
Yeah.
Especially the short story. The short story as I mean I don't wanna like kasi if I'm not mistaken, sobrang tatagal yung magiging usapan natin if we would read or talk about the short story itself. Sobrang haba kasi.
Mhm.
And it was years in the making kasi yung short story na yun. But the poems were also years in the making. But there are actually some period of time na it took me like minutes or an hour to write one poem. There are some instances actually. I don't know why. All of a sudden, parang there was a certain time that one of my friends were asking me to write a poem, and I was like, sure. What do you want me to write about? About having like a crush on someone, how they feel, like they're shy about it. And then when I was listening to them, I was already writing down some lines, thinking already what to say, and then while they're talking about it, I was like, what? So so they were like surprised that how are you able to write that so fast? And I was like, I was just listening to what you're saying. That's it. And then they'd be
And
like,
I think it depends on your feelings. I mean,
yeah,
it depends on how you feel at that moment. Diba? And
exactly.
if you have the experience as well regarding or connected to that poem, I mean, to that idea, then you could really compose one right away.
I guess ito may sinasabing perks of being broken-hearted all the time or perks of
Oo.
being depressed all the time.
Oh,
kaya, kaya
May
napapaisip ka
marami
ng
kang
ganyan.
paghuhugutan.
Yeah, the
uh,
hugot is there. The hugot is there. Yung parang mapapaisip ka na habang kinikwento niya ng friend mo, iniisip mo yung sana ganito yung, sana naging kami, ganyan, ganyan. Then, parang mapapaiyak ka na lang, but bakit kasi, ganyan, ganyan, ang sakit, ganyan, ganyan. Tapos biglang, bro, ito na. Parang I don't, basta ito na. Tapos after giving it, you'd be like crying. that that kind of feeling. Yeah, I guess. But I mean, it's been a while since I wrote those kind of poem. I mean, I'm happy with my relationship and I don't want anything to happen. So, wag na po. No more. I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done. But I mean, I can still write poems. It's actually I'm napapaisip ako, sabi ko, parang mas mahirap na magsulat ngayon. Unlike before, sobrang dali. Maybe yun nga, yung super depressed ka. But ngayon, you're in a relationship, you're okay with that. Okay, sige, I can still write, but it's not as fast as before. But as the thought is still there. Yung parang napapaisip ka pa rin, but hindi na siya ganun kabilis. Ganun.
Mm.
But again, as you said, it's all about feelings, experience. Ganyan. So maybe there's some experiences. There are also some point in time na mahilig kasi ako manood ng mga movies. You know, romantic rom-com. Uh,
Rom-coms.
rom-coms or drama, mga ganyan. Before I wrote poems, I started writing short stories first. And that was way back 2015. And the first time I wrote that short story was based on a movie that I watched with my family. I don't know if you've heard that movie, if you heard the movie Ruby Sparks. It was about this guy, the author. He he wrote a story about a girl, of course, and then whatever he writes on his typewriter, it comes to life, and the character came to life as well.
What was the title again?
So Ruby Sparks. It's actually a good movie.
Louis Sparks.
Yeah, Ruby Sparks. I forgot the actors who played that role, but Antonio Banderas was there. He's part of the movie. He was there. I and then so I started to think of that kind of scenario. I was like, okay, why don't I try one? So then Meet Jenna Frost came to life. However, Meet Jenna Frost was a revamp. What Sir A, I don't know if Sir A really read the whole thing, but Meet Jenna Frost was actually a revamp because the original was really based on that movie. Meet Jenna Frost was a revamp to the story based on what I've experienced somehow. And the story, the setting was not eventually here in the Philippines. They're all in America.
Why
Yeah,
New York?
Yeah, it was in
they're
America.
all in the they're all in
I
America.
I read some part of it. It's
Yeah.
like in Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, New York.
Yes.
Why?
I
Why there?
don't know. Maybe I think it's because of me watching a lot of American movies.
Ah,
And
I
then
don't
I think one of the reason why most of the writers used New York because New York sounds romantic, same as
it,
Paris.
really?
exactly. Actually, after finishing the whole book, and I'll be honest, it took me 5 years to finish it. It started
Oh,
2015 and it ended in 2020. It took me 5 years because it was like I had a 2 year hiatus before I started to rewrite the whole thing. And then I was really planning to do just Meet Jenna Frost. I mean, I wanted to do a very long story about that title. Then I was as soon as I was writing that episode, that story, I was like, why don't I try to do this as a chapter and try to make it as a novel? I said, I'm not like J.K. Rowling or other book writers who could do that. So I said, sige, kung anong kaya ko, yun na yun. And I did, and what the style that I did was really monologue. It was all monologue. There are no, what you call this, third person conversation. It was all monologue. It's like, you're listening to a person telling his story from episode 1 to episode 5. And the setting was really so American. It's like first you're in Manhattan, then you go to Atlanta, then you go to Chicago, then you go to Seattle, then New Orleans, back to Manhattan, then go to Los Angeles. Then as soon as I finish the last episode, I was already thinking of the second book, which is the same title, same series, but the venue or the setting would be in Europe. Because if I'm not mistaken, the very first episode that I was about to write was about in Paris. Then I also think of Greece, then Rome, those places. But if I would definitely ask myself, I've never been there. I've never been to
Ay,
those
ikaw
places, pero napapaisip ka na, bakit nagawa mo yun? Bakit naisip mo yun? Parang, you're in the Philippines, pero you haven't been to different places, pero bakit naisip mo yun? I was like, I don't know. Maybe, yun nga, going back again, sabi ko, maybe it's just those movies lang talaga. It's just watching those movies. Kaya napapaisip ka.
Mm.
And I even relate a certain part of that story sa You Got Mail. I don't know if you watch if you've heard of that movie, You Got Mail.
You got
Tom
mail.
Hanks
Yeah,
was,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, You Got Mail. The very old romantic movie. Tom Hanks, those years. And then
I haven't watched it.
You
yeah.
should.
I mean, you know what? There's iba talaga eh pag yung mapapasulat ka and then because of those movies. Kaya maybe yun yung impact niya. It's one of the things that helped me build in writing those stories. Kaya sabi ko, ang dami-dami ko na napanood, so ang dami ko na rin maisip na maybe I can do those things, but I don't know how will it work. And they keep on telling me na, why don't you try to publish it na? I said, I don't have the money to do that. Why don't you try to
Yeah,
focus
actually,
on
that's what
one?
I'm thinking earlier when you sent the short story. I said this is quite long story, like 30 pages if I'm not mistaken. 30 pages. I said you can publish it now kasi ang dami na nun eh. I mean, you can do it by writing or you can do it by video like YouTube. Because nowadays a lot of people are doing short story through YouTube, diba?
Yes.
Mm.
So probably you could publish without using any money. I mean, you will use a lot of money for YouTube, but you will gain a lot of money from YouTube as well. Yeah.
Well,
Easiest platform.
well, let's see what will happen. I mean, I'm happy to listen to any advice
Yeah.
for that. Well, we'll see in the future. God knows what will happen.
Yung so sa mga listeners natin, kailangan nyo abangan yung ano ni Sir Nico. Publishing niya ng mga compositions niya.
Yes. Ika-plug namin yan dito. Soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kada.
Ito-plug
And-
namin yan dito soon. Soon.
Sure.
Soon. Kailangan mo isend sa amin yung link, Sir Kaka, ng selling platform mo dyan.
Yeah. Well, let's hope for the best and let's pray for
Yeah.
that. I mean, it will be there. We'll get there. And yeah, going back, it sabi ko nga, it really took me years to finish it. Nakakaiyak, nakakaiyak siya kasi there are as I said nga, kasi there are some stories na related sa past relationships ko. Pero it's not the whole thing. Parang I just got some other pieces to make it happen. And, changing characters, ganyan, how should the story end, ganyan. And funny enough, whenever I let people or some of my friends read it, they'd be like, bro, bakit parang ang sakit naman ng mga stories mo? Bakit puro, basta ang sakit, and parang there's no happy ending, there's no,
Hmm.
yung parang mapapaisip, I mean, can you do a happy ending just for once? And I was like, no, yun yung maganda eh. No, no happy ending eh. Eh, bitter ako in real life. Eh, di bitter yung story ko.
Yeah, it depends on your mood. So.
Sino main character no, nung short story na yun?
His name is Rick Fisher.
Rick.
He's a He's just an ordinary guy, living an ordinary life, working 9 to 5 on a big company, and he loves his cup of cappuccino. And then he's actually torn between two things that we love the most, which is falling in love and his career. But anyway, but the name of the character, the main character is Rick Fisher. And there's so many sub-characters na nandoon sa story. If you have time to read it, kayo na pong bahala.
Yeah,
We will read it.
we will,
For
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah. Basta,
Actually, ako kasi ang style ko, hindi ako mabasa pag sa phone. Pag sa phone kasi, tinatamad ako. So, hihintayin ko talagang makapunta muna ako sa office and then ipiprint ko. Mas ano ako parang mas gusto ko yung physical.
Yung hardbound, parang gano'n.
Hard pa.
well, there are only 34 pages, so okay na yan.
Ako, I started na parang yung 2 paragraphs tapos yung ending. Pero hindi ko masyado naintindihan yung ending. Sabi ko, I need to read everything para maintindihan ko siya. Kasi parang goodbye. Sabi nila, ay, may goodbye. Sabi ko, parang ang hindi siya, parang ang hindi magandang ending yun. Na-curious
I don't want
Well,
I don't want to
Twinnies,
spoil the
yeah,
whole
because-
thing.
Yeah?
Sorry, I don't want to
Yes,
spoil the whole
yeah,
thing.
you can go.
Okay, sige.
But the big question there is the big question there is, if you'd be under his shoes, what would you choose? Would you choose what you love for your life, or would you choose the life that you love?
Ooh.
That's the question. Long story short, you just choose love or career, relationship or career. It's your choice.
Sige, we'll read that and then we'll answer. Sir, meron akong choice for Rick. For Rick, ha?
Nakapili na po kami.
I mean, I don't know. Pero you might get confused at some point. Kasi mapapasabi ka na, who's this person? Bakit ganito? Bakit ganyan? Sorry, sige, simple spoiler, or ano lang, medyo spoiler lang. Medyo babaero siya.
Ay, bigla.
Sir, yun po ba yung,
Ano ba to?
yung story? Yun po ba yung story?
Kaya
No,
nga,
but-
parang,
I don't want to say na, and for me I don't want to say na he's like super babaero. But you might be surprised na in every episode, iba-iba yung babae makakasama niya sa story. But it all leads to one
typical
third part.
romantic.
Yeah, typical romantic thing, gano'n. And then, very messy relationship. He has a very messy relationship sa story na yun. Kaya nga, it only leads to those questions. Relationship or career, yun lang yun. So it's up to you guys what would be that his choice and what would be your choice if you would be that person, or you'd be that character, or if you'll be living in his shoes. Parang ganun. So that's the story. Okay, so it's up to you guys to read it.
okay,
And
we'll do that for sure.
yeah, and if ever you might be seeing some grammar errors or something, sorry.
Baka hindi rin namin mapansin.
I think it doesn't matter. Oo,
Yeah.
kasi I think we are not professional enough to check those grammatical errors kasi hindi naman kami English teacher gaya mo, so probably you know better than us. Diba?
I mean, I tried. It took me 5 years to finish it. Kaya sabi ko, ito na yun. This is what I tried. And ano pala, if you're a fan, if you're a fan of, or a coffee lover, or a drinker,
Yes.
you might be related to this story as well, because he loved, sige, the spoiler, one of his dream business is to run a cafe.
Oo nga. Nakita ko.
And the vibe is really cafe. Because, bakit ko nasabi yun?
Bet ko siya.
Yeah, I mean,
Ang
kasi
ganda
ito
rin
yun eh.
name ng coffee shop dun sa pinaka-start. Ano yan?
Fizz bar.
Oh,
Fizz
yeah.
bar.
Bar.
Yeah. Fishbar Cafe, Downtown Diner, the Point Bar, or the Point Cafe, mga ganyan. There's so many. Actually, I think I don't know how many cafes did I include in that story. But long story short, he loves to go to different coffee shops and just buy a cup of cappuccino. Ilan yun. And then, yung background kasi, while I was writing that story, I was listening to cafe music. It's like I'm not. Well, I was at Starbucks. I'm just at
Mm.
work listening to cafe music or restaurant music, then yun, start typing what to input sa story, ganyan. So, kaya sabi ko, all throughout those 5 episodes, literally there's a relation of cafe. But I don't drink coffee, but there's cafe. Right?
No, ang
Diba? How
contrast.
Sabi nga,
ironic it is.
sabi nga talaga nila, poets are liars because they always tell the truth. So hindi katotohanan yung mga
Exactly. It's very opposite. It's very opposite of me. I don't do those things. I don't go to coffee shops. I don't dream of having a cafe. I don't go to places and go and have different relationships whatsoever. No way. Di ko lang alam kung bakit naisip ko yun. But wala
Is
eh.
it
It's a
because
story.
it's the life that you want then?
Oo, parang kumbaga yun yung alter ego mo na gusto mong magbunga.
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
But there is a possibility na ganun, di ba? Because we always put up some scenarios in our mind na
Hmm.
what
Alam
if
natin.
ganito yung buhay ko? What if ganito, di ba? So probably yeah. Probably,
I mean,
pinipili
I mean,
talaga sa yes. Probably.
I always wanted to have a business, but I
Mm.
wasn't really thinking of having a cafe as a business. But I always wanted to have a business. I just don't know what it is. So maybe just came out, for the cafe, and maybe, yeah, or siguro kasi there's hindi siya coffee bean, yung coffee project, yun. Sorry, I'm not the Starbucks fan or coffee project fan. I just like the ambience. That's all. But I really haven't think of it like as a business. Yeah. But maybe you have a point there, sir. You really have a point there. Parang may punto ka doon. Ay, bahala na. But,
Let's take a break for this episode. Keep tuning in to enjoy the exciting stories here at the Cryptid Podcast with ABC.